All right, a little bit about our panel today. We're going to be discussing the success secrets of finding real estate deals in a competitive marketplace. All right, so we all know, everybody's buying, whether it's single-family homes, commercial, people paying over ask. How do we find deals? How do we get these properties? How do we find properties for our clients? So we're going to spend a little bit of time today discussing that. And we'll do a little introduction, and I'll start off real quick. Again, my name is Colby Bowers. I am commercial real estate investor and syndicator and fund manager, and operate in 5 different states, specifically focusing on multifamily, mobile home parks, and storage units. And I'm still finding deals, so knock on wood. Santino.
Yeah, hi. My name is Santino. I am a principal broker and owner of 2 real estate brokerages in Oregon, Washington. I also am an investor. I own 2 construction companies as well, and we do some wholesaling and multifamily investments as well.
Hi, I'm Macy Villegas, and I'm out the Houston, Texas area, and in the suburbs of Houston. And I am the director of engagement for our small boutique brokerage in Houston, and I also run a team of 7 Connect 2 Realty Group and residential.
Hello, my name's John Rodriguez. I'm from Austin, Texas, and I'm a general contractor. I own 2 construction companies, and I'm a rookie investor in real estate.
Hi, my name is Tim Lockhart. I am in Wichita Falls, Texas, which is about 2 hours north of Dallas-Fort Worth. And we really want to bring increase to our local community through real estate investing. I am a realtor and an investor, and have a real estate investment club meeting that meets once a month.
Awesome, thank you. First question we're going to ask the panel is, how are you finding your deals with all the competition out there? Are you guys using virtual assistants, cold callers, mailers, voodoo dolls? What do you guys got going on?
Well, I can go first. So I feel like my business is competition proof, and the reason why is because I stay connected to my database. I'm very connected in the community, HOA, churches. I'm at all my children's events. I feel like connection is key in this business. I also use a lot of social media platforms to market to people. I have like a group of agents that I work with in California and across the nation that we, refer back and forth to. So it's an easy system if you're staying connected with people.
Good to know.
Hi, the way that I find deals, I have 2 construction companies, and I have a network of other contractors that work together with me. We help each other out. And so the way we're getting them is people are calling us to renovate their homes. And when they call us for a second or third time, we ask them, we ask the question, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to sell the house? Are you trying to keep it for, and a lot of the times they're trying to sell the house. And so we get first shot at it before it even goes in the market.
Outstanding. Can I get your contact information? Tim. You.
Yeah, so we use a multi-pronged approach to finding deals. When I'm teaching other people how to invest in real estate, there are a lot of ways to find deals. What I tell people is to look at all the different ways and find 1 or 2 that really resonates with you, that is a good fit to your personality, and focus on those. So we can get lists from multiple different sources, and mail postcards and letters to people. Those are still effective if the message matches the correct market, right? And something else is a ringless voicemail out to a list. And again, the message has to match the market. So you got to be tailor the message to the type of seller that you're looking for.
Oh, thank you. I'll take from the commercial perspective. I'm doing a lot of the same things. Cold calling, using VAs, virtual assistants, mailers, seance boards, flying out to my markets, actually meeting property owners and brokers and property managers and taking them out to lunch, taking them out to coffee, just getting in their network and being top of mind. And so, it's one thing. Yes, you want to add to it?
Yeah. So when we talk about off-market deals, there's so many different ways and it depends on what kind of off-market deals you're looking for. Because you have the residential side, you have the commercial side. As a principal broker of 40 plus agents now in 2 states, my job is to teach our agents of all calibers, commercial and residential, on how to find these deals, especially with inventory being low, right? So there are so many different avenues, but just to give you some practical ones, I don't know which field you guys are all from, but if you're from real estate or if you're from construction, but if you're from real estate, there's programs out there like Remind.com, which helps basically establish like a sell score. It shows if they're absentee owners. There's all sorts of things. And that's Remind, REMINE.com. And then there's also CoStar if you're into, CoStar is amazing. They give you every bit of information. You can look up properties that have leases upcoming that are about to end within the next 6 months. So you can actually plan ahead of time, and it gives you the direct seller's phone number, right? So you can contact them and say, hey, this lease is coming up. Are you interested in selling? Are you looking to release? And again, if you're in commercial, you could even hit the listing side of the lease. There's also, if you're just, an investor, right? Pair up with some brokers, because if you have money and you're willing to invest and brokers know that, they're gonna send you deals, right? And wholesalers. Yes, wholesalers kind of get a bad rap. I'll be honest with you, they're some of them are kind of sketchy, but if you find a good wholesaler, and they know that, and they're willing to like tell you what they're adding on top, right? And you're like, hey, listen, I want you to make money. I just want to know what we're dealing with here as far as margins go. And they'll send you deals as well. And oftentimes those are great deals. But let's not, also forget the MLS has great deals as well. Like your regular MLS, like you off market, on market, you can still find good deals. But you have to be proactive. And then last but not least, as part of good deals is, like he said, construction, having all these different B2B businesses. Like our construction company feeds our real estate brokerage, and like if we have clients that want to list, we say, hey, well listen, we can give you cash, we can help you fix your home, collect it at closing. So there's all sorts of different ways to get your foot in the door. And then you have the traditional ones, cold calling, buying leads, all sorts of stuff like that.
Great information. We'll move on to the next question here is, we talked about a little bit of how you're finding those deals in the market, but what are 1 to 2 key action items that you guys are putting in place to keep the deal flow going and being successful in your markets? You talked enough. We'll go to start with Macy.
Yeah.
I mean, staying connected, being creative, and swallowing your pride, I would say, are the 3 that come top of mind for me. So I'm going to keep it simple.
Well, word of mouth is still great. I mean, maintaining, just sending postcards for someone's birthday or Christmas or something, but just maintaining that relationship, because a lot of times we sell, someone's mom's house, and then her daughter wants to sell her house, and so we get first call. A lot of the deals that we get is deals that never go to the market. We catch them ahead of time, so.
Well, we focus on bringing increase to everybody in the community. So as we can serve other people and help contractors to get business, help sellers to solve their problems, and help make those connections, and then that helps to then build those referrals.
Yeah, I'd like to Back a little bit more off of what John was saying, talking about with the mailers and postcards and stuff. One of the things for our KPIs we're tracking is conversions and how many touches, and it's important to stay consistent. And I think that's one of the processes that we keep in place, because it's taken 7 to 10 touches over a period of 4 to 6 months, at least on the commercial side, to get sometimes just a call back. So a one and done, a single mailer or a single round of calling isn't going to be enough. So it's timing and consistency. You have to time it and with consistency. So being consistent and reaching out to them, because they may not be ready to sell today, but in 3, 4, 5, 12, 18 months, they may. And so you want to be that first person that they reach out to. So thanks for bringing that up, and I think that's a really, really good piece. So.
Yeah, I'll try to keep this one short. Two other programs, just if you're writing stuff down, is Batch Leads and Batch Dialer for acquiring leads. They do skip tracing, which is amazing. And then also, as far as continuing to facilitate that deal flow, I think it's important as you start to scale is implementing people like ISAs, inside sales agents, that can geo-target. We also, yesterday, I forgot the gentleman's name, but he was up here on the commercial panel, and he talked about target marketing through social media. Huge, and he nailed a lot of the things that we do. And so keeping that deal flow going is putting people like that in place in order that you have continual business coming in. And branding is huge.
Let's see, going to the next question here. This one I think is going to be my favorite question. In what ways are you bringing creativity into the fold to set yourself apart in your market? We'll kind of reverse this. Tim, you want to take the lead on this?
Well, when I first started wanting to get into real estate, I wanted to be a full-time investor. And then I got my license and became a realtor in order to have access to the MLS, to be able to have the licensing credentials for the industry that I was wanting to be in. And then I really got kind of sidetracked into that and started doing only retail sales as a realtor, and lost kind of the direction of where I was originally wanting to go. And so now I've rebranded as a real estate entrepreneur, and I'm leading with investing and then getting listings off of deals that I personally do, fix and flip. Then I can list my own properties, as well as when I train students on how to become investors and have the real estate investment club meetings once a month. Then it's positioning me in the marketplace through investing, and so I'm coming to the retail side through investing in real estate, and so that's kind of setting me apart and giving me a different message to bring.
Well, the way that I'm doing it is because I have the construction company. I have a lot of enclosed trailers and flatbed trailers and all of that. So one of the things that I offer is I help people move. I provide them with a free trailer, and then if they need help, I get them some workers at cost. So I let them use whatever equipment we have to help them move, and that has spiraled into another business. Now we have a packing company. So now, because we help them move, now we're actually packing everything for them and moving it to the new house. So now there's some people that started doing that, but I think we were one of the first ones to implement that, and it worked out well.
Nice, that's very creative, for sure.
I think it's interesting because we've all had to learn to be a little bit extra creative, especially through the pandemic and other, like where I'm from, we had Hurricane Harvey and different things that have come up. So bringing humor into marketing, more authenticity when you're marketing yourself on social media. And again, I'm always going to be about connection. I'll say that word 10 times at least. And when you do have events and stuff, making sure that you're always adding a +1 is super important. Maximizing the event so that you're not just having the event, but you're adding extra touches, being creative that way. I think it's really fun, and our team is very, very, very much focused on that and setting ourselves apart in that way.
Awesome. Santino?
Yeah. By the way, I gave you a shout out before you walked in on your digital marketing. You missed it. So some of the ways that our brokerage gets creative, and obviously, like she said, and all these guys, same exact thing. We're doing all these same things, you know, being that we have sister companies in construction, we have sister companies in wholesaling. When we approach a deal, we give the client so many different options, you know, that they can sell their house directly to us. We can help them fix it to get it on the market. We can, you know, sell it, you know, at a fire sale and generate multiple. There's all sorts of different things, but you know, one of the main things I think that sets us apart in our industry and where we're at is our message, and it's putting people over profit. And you know, I think a lot of times real estate brokers and people in the industry kind of get a bad rap as like used car salesmen. You know, dime a dozen. You know, you're the 24th person to call me today. Stop calling me, right? And so one of the things that we do is we make sure that we put people over profit. And what we do, we start with our agents. So we champion our agents. So we keep their overhead low. And then we also allow them to go out and be able to acquire deals at a better rate or a high rate, but give them the freedom to do so. And that's what I notice is that when you empower other people, such as people around you, you're going to get a lot further reach for, you know, acquiring deals or, you know, being successful and separating yourself apart, because you can brand yourself on social media, but when you have 20 mini yous or 20 other yous, right, branding themselves on social media just as much and just as hard, it's going to hit a lot more eyes in a lot faster time.
Piggyback what all these guys are saying, you know, I'll take from the commercial perspective. You know, being in multiple markets and stuff, you have to be pretty creative. 'Cause I personally own a little over 600 doors in multifamily, and I'm a partner in about 1,700 total. And you know, I don't necessarily think it's creativity, but I think flexibility and patience has really been key to my team's success. What I mean by that is basically everything everyone up here has mentioned, you know, I think we all do. But the biggest thing I think when we're especially going direct to seller is trying to solve their problems. I can't tell you how many deals, I could probably count them on both hands, that I wasn't the highest and best offer, but I solved their problem. I actually got a deal for $200,000, $300,000, $500,000. My best one was I got a $500,000 under their highest ask, but I was flexible. I could close in 120 days because they were trying to do a 1031, which is a tax exchange, and they needed more time. So having that flexibility and finding out what are their pain points is key. Another thing too is think outside the box. And this kind of segue into our last question is, you know, what do you tell folks that come to you and say, hey, I can't find houses, you know, I can't find properties, is do what other folks aren't doing. If everybody's doing mailers, we'll do cold calling. If everyone's doing that, reach out to different folks. I found a 40-unit apartment complex on Craigslist and closed on it. They had no idea what they were doing and sold it. You know, I've talked to code enforcement in my towns and saying, hey, if you come across any properties that are looking run down, unkempt, you're giving them tickets, let me know. Give me their contact information. You know, so there's other ways. You know, I drive for dollars. I go to my markets. They're in all different signs. My partner's in the back, Rob. We just got done on a 4-state tour earlier this month, and we got the rental car and put hundreds of miles, and we're driving around our neighborhoods. And every place we sound, we're like, you know what, that looks like a good place to add to our portfolio. We just start dialing, cold calling. Hey, I'm here on your property. You know, you looking to sell? You want to talk about it? What do you have? Hey, this one's not for sale. What else is in your portfolio? So, you know, there's multiple different things. So creativity is just think outside the box and do what others aren't. So if you want to.
Yeah, no, 100%. You nailed it. I think that's exactly right. Creativity and all those, the pain point thing is absolutely key, because the best agents are not just people who can sell houses or the best investors or whatever you want to, whatever construction. It's the people that can solve problems. Problem solving is like, it nowadays seems to be like a very, you know, not used thing, right? I mean, people are really black and white and they're following lists just like they would in school. But problem solving is key. And if you can do that, think outside the box, get creative on deals, find ways, you know, to work with lenders, stuff like that, you're gonna win.
Good job.
Yeah, I mean, to piggyback on that a little bit, I totally agree. I feel like we are problem solvers, and if you're a good agent, you're definitely a problem solver. I feel like too, just using the tools that you have, like you don't have to make it so hard. Like for example, someone on our team, brand new agent, maybe 3 months, just contracted a $1.6 million list on the buy side of things by looking in the withdrawals. You know, you just have to like think like, what other tools do I have to make these things happen and find these deals for our clients? Like you have to go the extra effort, especially in this market right now. It's not so easy anymore, but it's also like sharpening our skills and actually like making us put in more work and time and effort, which I really like, so.
Yeah, I think just engaging with your clients, I mean, just finding out what they need. You have a network of a lot of people, I mean, bankers and construction guys and moving companies, so, you know, just finding out what they need and just being willing to help, you know. I think that's.
Yeah, people tell me all the time that they can't find houses to buy, you know, especially, you know, and they're only looking on the MLS and there's no houses to buy. It's like, how can I buy a house as an investor when everybody else is paying above asking price in a week? And so my answer is always, especially as an investor, if you're trying to buy houses, then that's your first problem, because we don't buy houses. We solve problems that happen to be related to a house or a piece of real estate, right? So, we're looking for either somebody has a personal problem or somebody that has a financial problem or a property problem. You know, so and it doesn't always have to be a bad problem. Maybe they want to move to be closer to grandkids. Maybe they are getting a new job or a raise and they have to move, and they have to sell their house or they can't move, and their house needs to be fixed up in order to get the highest price on the MLS, right? Or maybe they just have to move quicker than they're able to do. And so if we can talk to them and maybe go like 3 layers deep, right? Everybody always wants all cash for the highest price. It's like, why wouldn't that not be their starting point, right? But talk about what they need and get 3 layers deep in the conversation, so that if you can find what that underlying problem is and solve that problem, and then you might be able to pick up the house, and if their problem is bigger than the equity that they are leaving behind in the house, then you can pick up a house with equity, and have creative acquisition strategies, as also have creative exit strategies. And so if you're able to put all that together, and then it's not just buying a house.
No, great, thank you. We've kind of answered kind of our prepared questions, and we wanted to leave some time to see if any of you folks in the audience had maybe some questions for us. Thank you. We just didn't want it to be crickets. Appreciate it.
No problem. You guys did a great job explaining you all's marketing techniques, but can you explain how your marketing has changed since COVID, and what you're doing virtually to attract clients to want to sell and buy?
Who wants to take it?
I can start. I love talking. You know, COVID actually, for us, and I think most people in the real estate industry, we didn't see a slowdown during COVID. We surged. Our numbers went up dramatically during COVID, and I think that was partially due to low interest rates. But as far as marketing goes, since COVID, I mean, you're starting to see the same principles still ring true. And I think, you know, digital content marketing is the key right now, as far as like being in front of people. And that's the biggest thing. You're gonna have like the largest reach in some of that stuff. YouTube and putting out content of yourself, and don't just put out like, you know, you next to a Lamborghini or like you next to like $1 million listing, because listen, nobody really cares. Like, to be honest with you, if you do that, I'm sorry, but they don't care. It does not get you more deals. The key is, are you providing value in the content that you're putting out? And when you do that, people are going to naturally, you know, grow towards you. I get DMs all the time, people asking me, hey, you know, I want to be an agent. Hey, do you have any deals? Hey, right? So like that kind of stuff is great.
Yeah, and I add to that. So my marketing strategy and finding deal strategy changed drastically. You know, pre-COVID and right up to the first part of COVID, I was building a lot of commercial broker relations, getting deal flow and stuff through them. And obviously when COVID hit, at least on the commercial side and my markets, we saw a lot of the lenders start tightening up some of their requirements, as rightly they should have, just in anticipation of the unknowns. So that's when my team and I were like, all right, we're getting deals, we're getting property sent to us, but we're not seeing deals. And that's when we made a drastic shift to going, you know what, this, you know, for us to stay ahead, what is everybody else not doing? And that's when we shifted and went direct to seller, found the VA, you know, went through the trials and tribulations of A/B, trying to figure out what script works best, you know, who to hire. And we haven't looked back. You know, we still, I still garner or, you know, build those relationships and keep those relationships, but you know, it's more of a secondary, and I'm still using it this day, and it's been less. It's worked out great.
Are you using CoStar or Auto Dialer or geo prospecting? How are you? You said you have VAs, and
Yep.
you're going direct. So how are you doing that?
I love CoStar.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
So CoStar, at least from the commercial side of thing, it's about 80-85% accurate when it comes to numbers, emails, things of that nature, at least for my markets and what I'm finding out. I'm not on LoopNet or Crexy because, you know, and not to say that's where deals go to die, and you'll hear in the commercial world, because I found a really good deal on LoopNet that sat there for 3 years. But you know, again, doing not looking for the fancy stuff, but yeah, we'll pull CoStar reports. I can't afford CoStar. I'll be upfront, it is pricey. So I pay with bourbon to folks that I know that has it. So again, doing what others can't, bribe, steal, beg, borrow. I get a CoStar report for my market, give them my criteria, take that information, throw it into, we use an auto dialer with our VA. I can't remember it off the top of my head. And they just plug it in and they'll call, you know, multiple times. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have a question about the finding the list or assessing the list, the list of properties. What is there a place where I can, like, I know there's a lot of different websites where you can go find wholesale properties, residential versus commercial. What's the best ones? How do we rate them? Does anybody up there have a list? And also, one more question around that. As far as commercial versus real estate, when one is wanting to decide which market they want to get to, is it more about their experience within the market or their financial capacity, capability?
I can talk to the commercial side of things. So when the list, there's CoStar is probably one of the better ones on the commercial side. Reonomy is another one. It's a little bit cheaper. They're not as up to date, and again, it's certain markets are a little bit better than others. There's probably some other sites. What my team does is, even with CoStar, is we'll do a batch skip trace. So that'll help verify. So a lot of times if we know that there's some gaps, or the VA does a round of calls and like, hey, these are disconnected numbers, we'll pull those out and we'll do a batch skip trace, see if we can find them. And a lot of times too is what's great with CoStar is you can reach back out to them and be like, hey, there's no information on this property, and they go do the research for you and find it. So that's one benefit. But nationwide CoStar, I was quoted at like $39,000 a year. So, you know, I'm good, but I ain't that good yet. To go back to your other question about, you know, the residential versus commercial, I cut my teeth in residential. When I was active duty, I bought single family homes. That's all I knew. You know, I was like, oh, I can do this. This is only, you know, 1 comma, you know, with you know, there's six numbers. All right, this is cool. You know, and the fear of jumping into the commercial side, you know, with an extra set of zeros and stuff, you know, not only is it a little harder to get into, but that screw up is a little bit bigger as well. But what I found out is it's mindset. And if you have, and what I like about commercial versus residential, commercial is all about the numbers. You analyze it and you underwrite it. If the numbers don't work, go move on. There is no emotional attachment to it. I'm not selling my home that my kids grew up in or trying to buy somebody's property that they want top dollar, 150 over ask or whatever. Don't get me wrong, there's some greedy ass sellers out there. They want some money. But you stick to your criteria. And I had a conversation, I can't remember who the other day, or at lunch yesterday. But what's counterintuitive on the commercial side versus residential, it's easier for anybody in this room, myself included, to get a $10 million loan to buy a 100-unit apartment complex than it is to get a $1 million loan to buy a 20-unit apartment complex. And it's counterintuitive. Problem is, what you need to look at is, a bank looks at it is your economies of scale, and you are diversifying your risk or spreading your risk out over 100 individual units versus a smaller amount. So even though they're giving you more money, which is, I'm like, do you want to give me a loan for $72 million? I'm like, you know, I have a high school education, and yeah, and I joined the military, so I wasn't that bright. But and they do it. So I was Air Force. I worked a lot with the Army. My partner's a Marine. He likes yellow crayons. But now, so my only question is I sold all of my residential off right at the start of the pandemic. I own no single families currently. I'm all in on the commercial side. That being said, if we have another 08 or 09, I'm going to be jumping into the residential market and picking them up as I can. So hopefully my answers. Anyone else want to add?
Well, she also touched on one thing that she said. There's a bunch of lists out there, and she asked, you know, what are some of the different ways to differentiate, you know, like who's more likely to buy or sell. I think Remind.com does a great job at that. They literally will show you how much equity a house has, and then you can show if it's absentee owner, if it's being ran as an Airbnb, you know, how long they've owned it for, how much. So, and it gives a sell score, and it'll have like 3, you know, least likely, most likely, very likely, right? And you can literally have a map, and it'll show the sell score. So it's a really great tool as far as trying to differentiate between lists. And yeah, as far as residential and commercial, we have both in our office. And honestly, some brokerages do not allow residential realtors to do commercial, which I always found to be super weird. I think liability, but if you can do a residential deal, you can do a commercial deal. There is a little bit more nuances, but you still have a purchase price, a buyer, a seller, escrow, stuff like that. You can do both.
It's the same amount of work to close on a duplex and a 20 unit as it is to close on a 300 unit property. Just let that sink in. Timeline's about the same. There is probably a little bit more work, but it's not much more. So it goes back to economies of scale. If I have a choice between a 20 unit that's at a great price or a 300 unit that's at a good price, I'll go for the 300 unit any day.
Last thing for me, if you get into retail and like industrial and stuff like that, and keeping track of inventory and all that stuff, it gets a little bit more complicated. But yeah.
Any other questions? All right, we have finished this, and we have 46 seconds to spare.
Yay.
Awesome.
Thank you all.